Cheers, everyone. Wow. When Stranger Things Season 1 came out, I was below the drinking age. Of course, here in Canada is 19 here in Canada, 21 the States. I was 18 years old back in 2016. I am 27 now, turning 28 this year, 2026. And this show just ended Wednesday to end off 2025. That is insane, huh? But hey, that's just how things go. Because, well, stranger things have happened. Cheers, everyone. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Pop Culture Vortex. I'm your host, Alex Pinto, and it is my privilege to welcome you to my channel. Alright, wow, I cannot believe it took 10 years to finish off this damn series. Yes, we are talking about Stranger Things 5. My god, this is the strangest thing. For the fact that a show with 5 seasons, and it took, well, not exactly 10 years, it took 9 years to finish. I don't know. I remember watching Smallville, one of my favorite shows ever. That show lasted 10 seasons, and it took 10 years to finish. I saw another show called Breaking Bad. You know, a show that has exact same amount of seasons as Stranger Things. Yeah, 5 seasons. And you know how long Breaking Bad lasted? 5 years. Stranger Things lasted 9 years for 5 seasons. Which, with each season having a few years in between release, it is insane. Like, a lot of these actors aged out, like they're older than what they are in the series now. Alright, so it's going to be interesting. Now, admittedly, of course, getting to the series, I was nervous about that, right? But thankfully, it wasn't that big of an issue. The dynamic was still there. So let's get right to it. There will be spoilers as a warning. So there will be spoilers for the entire season. At least as much as I can talk about. And for the finale. Because I will talk about the finale. So, you have been warned. Alright. So let's get right to it. I will first talk about the things I don't like about Season 5. First of all, too many characters. Alright? This has been a problem with Stranger Things. With the other seasons, it has been an issue. But this season was very much more noticeable as they introduced characters like Holly Wheeler, Dipshit Derek, and all these other kids, right? It was too much. Now, I don't blame the actress Nell Fisher, okay? As she is very damn good in this series. The problem is that, Holly was a character that nobody gave a shit about in the other seasons. She was this side character that, okay, she popped up every now and then, but had no lines or anything. She was just a toddler. Meanwhile, they cast almost a 13-year-old girl to play that, and who's supposed to be an 8-year-old girl, unless they just really didn't care about continuity. They pulled a Rocky, situation. Remember Rocky 4 and 5? Remember how that kid from Rocky's son looked like he was maybe 8 or 9 years old in Rocky 4? Then all of a sudden, in Rocky 5, he looked like he was about 13. Yeah. We all should remember that. So, yeah, that was a major issue. There was too many characters, so many subplots in between that just were unnecessary. This should have been a season just mainly focused on the main cast, okay? If you wanted to add this thing about the kids being kidnapped, then just do that. I don't think you really needed to. But then again, I guess the only reason why they kind of did that was only because of Max's coma. Of course, if you remember Season 4, she was in a coma after Vecna almost killing her. So there was that. And that's another thing. Let's get to another one. Holly and Max's escape. Holy shit, man. Okay. First of all, I don't get why the Duffer Brothers would write something like this. And they're great writers. But my god, why the hell would you write in the script? Max is walking at first when she's about to escape. Both Max and Holly. And she's slowly running little by little. No, fuck that. If I'm in the mind of this psychopath, and this guy was trying to kill me, I'm getting the fuck out of there. Why the hell are you walking? Get out of there. And don't even get me started on the whole speech thing, okay? Literally, you could have done that at an earlier scene because, the idea that Holly could not escape with Max through, because of course Holly could not come with Max because, Max would be going just to her body. The body is in a coma. So Holly has to open a portal to go to her body. That could have been information that could have helped her like 5 minutes ago rather than dropping the ball on her in the moment. You had plenty of time. Not to mention, Henry cannot go into those caves. Or at least at first he couldn't, Ultimately he does go in those caves because of his fear, right? But either way, you could have told her that much sooner, Like, I was so pissed off during that scene. Okay, it bothered me so fucking much. So yeah, that was a big gripe I had. Like, come on. Like, could have had that scene earlier where she was telling her that she cannot go with her. All right. And then, them walking slowly and then running. Like, my God. Like, that was just a terribly written scene. Like, I hated it all around. And I will say another thing that really bothers me about this season is the acting this season is probably the weakest. Like, and especially from the main cast, because you have a lot of talented actors. Millie Bobby Brown, David Harbour, Winona Ryder, Finn Wolfhard, and all the other guys. Like, from the main cast. And this was probably their weakest performances. Now, some of them are really good. Dustin, like, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but, like, he's still quite good. And, of course, Lucas, the actor there, which I cannot remember too, but, like, he is still good. But the rest, like, there's a lot of, like, weak line delivery from each and every one of them. Okay, like, I feel like they were definitely focused more on, like, some of the spectacle aspects at times rather than the performances. But we'll get to the finale on that aspect, though, in a bit. Another thing I didn't like, okay, let me just say, I know a lot of people love this scene when Karen is, like, stabbing the Demogorgon trying to protect Holly, like, with a wine bottle. A lot of people love that scene because, of course, it's badass. Kind of like her Ripley moment. I fucking hated that scene. And why do I hate it? Because back in season 1, remember when the Demogorgon was able to survive bullets? That scene in the school? I think, no, it's a school, sorry, like elementary school or junior high, whatever. Remember that scene when they were shooting at the Demogorgon, like machine guns, and the thing wasn't even wounded? Like, the thing was just going at them, no problem. Meanwhile, Karen comes in with a wine bottle and is doing a lot of damage. Like, it doesn't kill the Demogorgon, but, like, the Demogorgon is in a lot of pain. Like, like, it's causing a lot of damage. Like, it's bleeding out and everything. Like, because even when you look at season 1, like, when Steve is using his, bat, like, with the nails, even that didn't do the most damage. Like, it hurt it, but, like, it wasn't, like, bleeding out to the way that they showed the wine bottle was doing. So that was a big gripe for me. Like, that just made zero fucking sense. Like, sure, I admire that they did that for Karen, but I hated it so much. So there's that. What else can I say I hate? Callie at first was kind of annoying. 8, as you put it, right? 8 from season 2. Of course, I'll admit, I was a defender of Callie, actually. I actually didn't mind 8's storyline in season 2, like that one episode she had. I didn't hate that episode. Sure, it was probably the weaker episodes out of Stranger Things, but I didn't mind that episode. I didn't mind the character. So I remember because remember, this came on 3 volumes. I remember in volume 1, when they ended it off with Callie's appearance, I was like, okay, finally they're bringing that character, and maybe she can have redemption, and people can finally, like that character. No. She was pretty much obnoxious throughout volume 2. Like, nobody liked it whenever she spoke the stuff. She was basically getting to Eleven's head, and that was so annoying, that whole interaction they had. Like, she was getting to Eleven's head and all that, and pretty much weakened 11. So there's that. So those are the things I don't like about this season. I mean, there's quite a lot. Okay, from the finale, what can I say I don't like? Um, well, I really don't like that they really did not have much balls when it came to killing off characters. Like, I get it. You don't have to necessarily kill off characters for something to be good, but like, you couldn't properly kill off 11, all right? Because they had to do this whole happy ending with her. Now, I hate and dislike. I like and dislike that thing, but we'll talk about that more in a bit. Don't get me wrong. You don't have to kill off anybody, but at least, like, come on. You have this major battle, right? Like, killing off a character or two could have added stakes. And I remember the Duffer Brothers were hyping that shit. They were hyping, oh my god, major deaths this season. We're gonna have the most brutal deaths ever. We were surprised they greenlit this season. We had one death. Callie. She's the only character that died out of those. Not even a main cast. Like, she was a guest appearance for a few episodes. And she's the only one that died. Sure, you had soldier characters that died, but nobody gives a shit about them. Like, fucking kidding me? Or what? So, like, why even hype up there's going to be major characters? And I remember when Volume 1 came out, right? Nobody really died. And they were like, I mean, it's not Game of Thrones. It's not the Red Wedding and all that, which, by the way, I don't actually get the reference. I've never seen Game of Thrones, right? At least not fully. So I wouldn't get that reference, but I'm assuming there's a lot of death in that. But still, you hyped it up. Now, this whole brutal... I remember they're talking about a brutal death and all that. Or like a brutal scene, I think is what they said in particular. What brutal scene are you talking about? You talking about Karen Wheeler's... Like, when Karen Wheeler got slashed? That's it? Like, fuck that. That was nothing. I've seen worse than that on the series. So yeah, that was a big bother for me, Like, and here's the thing, and this has been a thing that has been a flaw within all the seasons of Stranger Things. They introduce new characters so that they don't have to touch the main cast. Alright? They introduced Bob so that they don't have to kill off Hopper. They introduced this scientist or whatever, right? I can't remember what the hell that character's name. Hang on. Okay, let me look up that character's name. Let's see. Actually, let me just go on my phone. I don't want to work on a new system here, and I'm kind of afraid to fuck things up. Let's see. Stranger Things, Russian guy. Is the Russian scientist Alexei? Yes. They pretty much introduced that character. Well, I don't really know who they really were substituting for that character. I guess maybe Bald Eagle? I don't know. I don't know who but they killed him off either way. Oh, well, then there's Billy. They did kill off Billy, right? And, well, I guess Billy was a flawed character anyway, so there's that. But then there was Eddie. We all love Eddie, right? Hellfire Lives. They literally killed off Eddie, just created a whole new dynamic between Dustin and Eddie, just so that way they didn't have to kill off Steve. Like, because obviously everybody loves Steve and Dustin, but we couldn't kill off Steve, so we just introduced a new character named Eddie, just for him to die. And Stranger Things 5 is, like, no exception to that. So that's been a problem throughout the whole series, and really, this season pretty much repeats it. And if anything, does it worse. And I will admit there are also some CGI issues, despite the fact that this show is meant to be big budgeted. There are a few visual effects issues. I'll admit the Demogorgon actually, there were a few good. Now I'll admit there were awesome scenes with the Demogorgon. Don't get me wrong, but like, I'll admit I feel like the Demogorgon has looked better in other seasons than it did in this one. So there's that. And of course, like, during the final battle, the finale, I remember everybody was saying, where were the Demogorgons when they were fighting that big Mind Flayer kaiju thing, right? Like, where were they? I will tell you all, plain and simply, exactly where they were. It's called, they were out of the budget. Yeah, literally the budget did not allow them to be in that scene because could you imagine them trying to do multiple Demogorgons to do like all the effects like the CGI and everything, and then you had that big monster? Yeah, it wasn't gonna work out. It's a lot of money, ching. So yeah, there's that. And of course, so yeah, and of course, there's a bunch of green screen issues I had, like especially in the finale, right when they're in the Dimension X or the Abyss, whatever they call it. Yeah, there were some green screen issues I have, which ironically, some coming from someone who does use green screen. I'll admit, like, of course, I'm somebody who's obviously just using my normal software like Filmora and all that, right? So I'm not gonna have the best green screen effects, but I do my best. This is meant to be a multi-million-dollar budgeted show, and yet look at that. It was not the best. Now, there are great visual effects shots, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lot of great visual effects shots in this season, but, there was a few things here and there that did bother me. Alright, I think I've been negative enough about this season, so let's get to the good stuff, alright? And I feel like the majority of the good stuff is probably from the finale. I think so. So let's talk about it. So what did I like about this season? Well, what I loved is that despite the age of all these actors, the dynamic between the characters was still there. The charm was still there. Like, I was happy to see that, like we still love the dynamic. They still know how to play their characters extremely well, right? And even like characters that were like older than what they're like, say Erica, like that actress was 19 filming this season, and she was meant to play like a 12 or 13-year-old girl. And she was phenomenal. A lot of people call it, I was like, she was too old. Okay, first of all, you know what she was doing called? It's called acting. Let me explain to you what acting is, guys. It's called you play a character, and that character is not meant to be you. You're playing somebody you're not. So in this case, she got the role of playing a little girl, like a 13-year-old girl. And she did it well. And guess what? Whoever was complaining about her age, if they had recasted that role or gotten rid of that character, y'all would be bitching. Let's be real. Y'all would be crying, like, where's Erica? Oh no, that's not the actress who played Erica. Why not bring her back? Yeah. So yeah, let's just get that out of the way. Because I remember there was a bunch of things about people complaining about that girl's age. Who gives a shit? Like, clearly, y'all haven't seen shit like Grease or The Breakfast Club where 30-year-olds play teenagers. And those movies are fucking phenomenal. So there's that. And then there's, let's see, what else? Oh, Dustin. I have loved Dustin throughout the entire series. I love that character. And one of the things I loved about that character was that Dustin was always kind of like the reasonable one out of the entire crew. Like back in season 1 when Lucas and Mike were having their spat, he was always kind of the one that was like reasonable and keeping everybody like together, Like he was pretty much like the kind of like the glue within everybody, the group. So after Eddie's death, it was interesting to see that everybody pretty much had to be like kind of like trying to help Dustin, because even Dustin isn't being reasonable. Everybody had to reason with him, whether it was Steve, Luke, or anybody, Like, especially with his behavior at school, with him wearing the Hellfire Club shirt, the one I'm currently wearing. All right? Like, he can't let that go. And I thought that was interesting. And I thought that was spectacular. And the actor did amazing with that. So there's that. And of course, all the other actors, like Lucas was quite good, especially when it comes to him waiting for Max, who, by the way, Sadie Sink is really good this season as well. She had a bunch of great moments. The way they had her enter when Holly was in Henry's mind, that was great. The way they had her enter, it was like, oh, it was a clapping moment, I'll admit. Like Volume 1 definitely starts off not bad, right? And let me tell you this, another thing, that scene with all the Demogorgons, like, I remember, like, I talked about the Demogorgons and how, like, they almost nerfed them at first, right? Especially with the whole Karen Wheeler and the wine bottle. I remember when that scene came up at the base, the military base, like when they're coming out of the gate and shit. Oh my god, that scene was fucking awesome. It was great. Like that scene was so damn good. I loved it so much. I had a blast with that scene. So yeah, like I will admit, like they actually did end off everyone's character like in the most satisfying way possible. Like we were all satisfied with Will's ending, Mike's ending, Lucas's ending, Dustin's ending, of course Nancy, Steve's, Robin's. Like we were satisfied with pretty much everyone. Now, of course, people are gonna point out like, oh, where was Susie? Where was this character and all that? I was like, honestly, Susie. Let's be real. Like anything could have happened, especially because we were talking about like Dustin's grief over Eddie. Like you never know, right? Especially because like considering that they had that whole thing. If I'm not mistaken, like since it's been a hot minute since I've seen season 4, like they had this whole thing where like Susie's religious parents did not allow her with to have a boyfriend, especially like Dustin and stuff like that, and took away her equipment. So like getting in touch was an issue, especially like considering long distance relationships back in the day was probably more difficult. Well, I imagine it is considering they didn't have social media and shit back then. So it's reasonable to assume that they probably drifted apart at some point between seasons, and of course, because of the quarantine of Hawkins. So there's that. Ooh, actually, I don't think I pointed that out. I didn't talk about that. The whole quarantine of Hawkins. Season 4 ends off with the portals open and then a bunch of giant clouds coming out of them with lightning and everything. And it looked like we're going to get like a full on apocalyptic. I always have trouble saying that fucking word. Apocalyptic. I'm not going to bother. A whole war, let's say, okay? Fuck, man. I can't say that damn word. It seemed like it. And yet, what do they do? Oh, we just quarantine the whole place and just put metal plates on the gates, on the portals, if you will, whatever. And that's it. Really? Yeah, so that was kind of anticlimactic. I'll just say that. Let's move on. So another thing I liked about this season, I mean, look, the majority comes from the finale. Like, I'll admit, I loved that scene with, the Mind Flayer, I guess, I guess that was the Mind Flayer and Vecna. And Vecna's fight with 11 was all awesome. I liked all those scenes. Like, I know I get it. People were like, oh, wow, all this. And I fight. Honestly, you don't need to take. Look, the runtime of a scene is not the end of the world. I thought it was a satisfying scene. Like, it was very much well shot. I thought the way they shot 11 and Vecna fighting was great and everything. How everybody had a part to play within that climax. It was all great. And what else can I say? Like, and of course, the scenes between Hopper and 11 are really damn good in that finale. Okay, like especially when Hopper is telling him about like, because he's right. 11 has suffered from when she was born. Her childhood taken away, her mom being taken away, and all that. Hopper only wanted those things for her, but of course, they don't live in that normal world where she can have those things. All right. So of course, later when she has to make that ultimate sacrifice, that was all sad. And despite me really ranting about the whole no deaths this season, well, at least the one death, the whole thing that they didn't full on definitively kill off 11 thing, honestly, there are two ways to look at it. You could look at it as, they didn't want to full on kill off 11. So I have that thought too. Like, yeah, they kind of pussied out on that. But then the other side is like, honestly, I want to believe that too. Like they say in this, I believe. Like, I want to believe that she does have her happy ending. That somehow she did escape, and yeah. Like, I want to believe what Mike said. And that scene was great, the way they're all crying, like that's the way they would love her ending to be. And look, they really do handle the D&D thing really well. Because technically, unofficially, this is a D&D show. And it was great. I do play D&D. I think D&D is a lot of fun. I love D&D, actually. I cannot wait till the next campaign. So there's that. And what else can I say I like about this? I mean, obviously, Bald Eagle is great. He's always funny. Steve and Dustin, which by the way, Steve and Dustin was something, I swear, like with the whole thing of the grief of Eddie and all that, right? That whole scene where Steve tells him was all like Eddie acting responsibly wasn't a hero, and then they have that they fight each other, and then like later on when Steve is about to go on that ladder, which of course that ladder was on a was like it wasn't secure, right? And of course later we see that it would have fallen. I thought that scene was great because like then there we finally see Dustin's grief finally come out and like all his emotions let out. And the way you see, and of course, it was satisfying seeing Steve and Dustin hugging. And like there, Steve was like, "I understand now. Now I know how I got to be there for this guy." Especially because then later on he calls Dustin his best friend, and that meant a lot. Cause we all love those two together. So the idea of having those two fighting was always heartbreaking. So that was great. And Jonathan and Nancy, I'll admit, a lot of people were like mixed on that. I like that scene. I thought it was actually a very nice way to break those two up. It was. And then later on with Steve and Jonathan, sorry, have that moment where they both express like, you know what, like Nancy's independent, and you know, we've been at it for so long, and I like that they do slowly do become friends. That was all great. And of course, I think a lot of us were scared about that scene, the tower scene, right when the dimensions were colliding, and then of course Steve was about to fall. Jonathan saves him, but of course they weren't going to kill off Steve because, like I said earlier, the Duffers did not want to kill off any of the main cast. They wanted them to have their happy endings. And that was it. So that's how it is. And you know what? Like, there are a lot of things to talk about this season. Maybe I do a whole thing dedicated to the finale, but we'll see. Overall, the finale sticks the landing. Okay, I thought the finale did stick the landing. In terms of a season, I do think this is actually my least favorite out of the whole entire series. Okay, season 5 is definitely my least favorite because I feel like pacing wise, it just did not work. And there was just too many characters and all that. So yeah, there was that. But anyways, like I said, season 5 is actually my least favorite out of the entire series. All right, it does stick the landing with the finale. Like I thought there was a great series finale. Like I'll admit, I thought the series finale was gonna suck ass because it's very difficult to land, a good finale. Like it just is. Like a lot of shows have that problem. Smallville being one of my favorite shows ever, I did not like that finale all that much. Like it's very hard to do. Like very few have done it. Breaking Bad did it, and Better Call Saul. Like both were phenomenal on that aspect. Superman and Lois, like a show I also really like too, did it as well. So it's very difficult to do. Like very few shows have actually done it. So the fact they did, do a good finale was great. And I thought the way they ended off everybody was fantastic. So, like I said, my least favorite season, it was decent overall, but like I wish they could have done better. They could have done better. So yeah, anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and please tell me, what do you all think? Please let me know in the comments what you all think. Like, talk about it, like tell me what you liked and didn't like. Leave it all in the comment section down below. And of course, if you do like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to show your support and watch more content, hit that subscribe button, all right? Hope you all have a good day. Happy New Year, all right? And, well, stranger things have happened.